So, hello and welcome once again. Good evening, everyone. My name is Yogesh, and very welcome to this webinar on seasonality patterns. Before we start, um, on my behalf of my entire team and the entire team of Century Financial, would like to wish all of our viewers and everyone good health. These are difficult times. We are going through a pandemic, and I hope that we hope that everybody is uh, keeping safe and everybody is in good health. Uh, the need for conducting these webinars is now more than ever. We used to conduct a lot of seminars, and through those seminars, we have spread a lot of awareness about the risk management, about how to manage your risk, how to minimize your risk in the volatile markets. And we are continuing the same programs, not through the seminars anymore, but yes, through webinars on week basis. We try to cover different topics and ensure that a lot of awareness is being spread about the risk in these volatile markets. We also, as a company, work on different kinds of strategies. And since the nature of the market is really volatile, uh, we always need something new to understand and new areas of investment as well. So I have conducted a lot of sessions in the past, which were related to. We started this in a few months ago when oil prices were down during the pandemic, and we started these series of webinars where we discussed about the falling oil prices, how to invest into oil without taking a direct exposure in the commodity. We discussed about a lot of recovery stocks in the past. We have discussed about how so many sectors which were battered during the COVID pandemic, um, when the world restarted reopening, when the economy started reopening, um, we came up with a portfolio of stocks which you can look into. We came up with a lot of other sectors which the investors can invest into. So like this, every week we come up with a lot of ideas and strategies, and every strategy is directed to just one thing: managing and understanding risk in volatile markets. So I'm sure there are a lot of investors who trade in commodities. So before I start, uh, let me just tell you, we are here more than 15 to 20 people right now. So if you have any questions related to what we are going to discuss, or if you have some questions in mind prior, you can send me over chat, and I'll be able to answer these. I'll try to answer these while we are doing this session. Uh, Also, in the middle of the session, if you feel that's something which you need a little more explanation about, please go ahead and ask. If you have any questions before I start the session, how many of you have traded in commodities before? Or let me just create a poll right here, which is easy to understand. So when I say traded, I also mean traded slash invested for long term in commodities. Okay. Please, if you can just answer this poll and see. So I just want to get a fair share of idea. Uh, how many of you have traded in commodities? How many of you have invested in commodities? Includes everything. If you are an investor who has bought gold for a long period of time, you are investing into commodities. If you had traded in oil or invested in oil, you are directly investing in commodities. So commodities in itself, we are talking about commodities. These are natural resources. So, for those who are not aware about the commodity market, just understand, if you're investing into any agriculture based product like rice, wheat, sugar, coffee, corn, it's agriculture commodity. If you're investing into natural gas, heating oil, crude oil, these are energy based commodities. If you're investing into gold, silver, platinum, palladium, copper, these are again metal based commodities. From orange juice to live cattle to uh, even coffee or cocoa for that matter, these are commodities. So if you have invested in this or if you have traded in this, you can select yes. If you have not, then you are about to find something new. And this is a completely different strategy about commodities. This is not the regular speculation we are talking about. This is uh, years of data being backtested from our research, and this is what we are producing it, and we are providing it to you on this webinar. Of course, whatever we will discuss and whatever the strategies which are being made are subjected to the market conditions. The times at which these strategies are made are based on the assumptions are based on the historical price movements, the historical seasonal data which we have tried to backtest. It is all not necessary that seasonality always comes right. So now we'll discuss about it. Let me just end this poll so you can see. Okay, we have around 62% of people who have traded or invested in commodities. We have 37% people who may be investing into shares, not directly in commodities, but I'm sure somebody is invested in different asset classes. So with this, please let me know if you have any questions popping up in mind. Just write into the chat and I'll try to answer these questions. Now, to begin with the seasonality, let's first discuss about what do we mean when we talk about seasonality patterns. See, seasonality in itself, it is a very important concept. uh, Specifically, I would say for those who are looking to trade agricultural products, we always talk about seasonality in stock markets also. I'll give you a very small example. Normally, if you see in December, during the holiday season, before Christmas, during Christmas, we have seen that S&P 500, it kind of goes up for those particular 1 or 2 weeks because there's a lot of shopping, there's a lot of retail sales which is done. So we have seen retail sales continue to go up. So mostly we have seen the markets, they go up during the holiday time. How do we know it? Because this is historical data. Holiday over holiday over holiday, we have seen that most of the time during this period of December before Christmas, markets they go up, right? So seasonality can be put into all the asset classes. Seasonality can be into forex, it can be into commodities, it can be into stocks. And what seasonality exactly is, it's a kind of let's say predictable changes that occur over year period in a business or in an economy or in an asset class. And this will be based on the seasons, including the calendar seasons or the commercial seasons. So commercial seasons, as I said, a holiday season for stocks. Calendar season could be more directed to what we are talking about, commodities, right? um, I'll just take a small pause to notify anyone who has a difficulty in if there is a congestion in the network, if you're not able to get my voice properly, we will put these sessions on YouTube as well later on, so you can always see this. For a one-on-one personal interaction, you can always fix your appointments and we can always discuss about this over a Zoom call as well, or you're most welcome to the office, right? So coming back to the seasonality, as I said, when we talk about seasonality, these are predictable changes which are occurring year over year and within a business or an economy or an asset class. Now, this can include calendar seasons like spring, autumn, winters, or this can also include commercial seasons like we are talking about holiday seasons, we are talking about a different kind of seasons which can affect the markets or the asset classes. It Seasonality, it really can help to analyze the stocks as well, it can really help to analyze the economic trends as well. And there are a lot of companies that can use seasonality, and they can help determine a lot of business decisions. Now, coming to the point, why we are here to discuss about such kind of seasonal strategies along with a few more strategies are uh, which have occurred as a result of the market volatility, right? So going forward, let me just show you one chart of soybean. Okay, I will straight away start with the agricultural products because there are at least three strategies which I have which are related to the agricultural based seasonality. And then we have gold, which I'm sure everybody must have seen in last 2 days. For your information, the current market update, gold prices yesterday in the evening were around 2040 and it continued to drop to 1900 levels. By night it reached to 1862 in the morning, lowest, and then again it recovered back to 1940. So while once we discuss these strategies, we'll go to the live platform and we will try to apply these strategies and see how easy or difficult it is to do it. Because at the end of the day, everybody has their own set of risk, and you have to take this decision for yourself. So moving on, I'm showing you a seasonality chart of soybean, and this is for last 20 years. So as I said, seasonality in case of agricultural products, we are talking about different kinds of seasons. And please remember this before looking into these seasonality cycles and their effects on commodities. It is important to note this that seasonality by itself, it just does not make up a trading system. Like you cannot just buy oil during the cold weathers. That's not how it works. Because just because it's winter and you will be using more oil and let's buy oil, that's not it. Okay, there is always a lot of factors attached to it, and you have to see the historic data also how it has worked out. It does help as an indicator. It can be a very good indicator for your trading also, but most of the commodities are subject to the laws of demand and supply during this course of entire 1 year. So for agricultural markets, supply is dependent on the harvest. It depends on the planting. It depends on the weather conditions. It depends on the transportation system. But and how demand is influenced? Demand will be influenced by a consumption. It could be a cyclical consumption. Could be demand can also be influenced by a export pattern of a country, feed demand of the country. So there are a lot of agro commodities. As I said, their supply and demand is the most important thing when we are trading in commodities. And supply, as I said, will be dependent on the harvest. It will be depending on planting of the new crop. It will depend on the weather conditions. It will depend on the transportation as well. Demand will mostly based on the consumption. It will be made based on the consumption patterns, export patterns, and again the feed demand what we talk about. When we talk about grains, again they will also rely on the harvest. They will also rely on the movement of other products as well. So now what you are looking at is a chart of soybean. Okay, and this particular chart shows you the various stages of a crop and how the prices they go up and down. Now all you have to see is between May, June, July, so May to November, when we are looking at for, and this is specifically for soybean, for corn, for oats, for wheat, all these cycles could be different. It could be same as well, but since we are studying specifically soybean right now, now if you see, and we are looking from a US point of view, so over May is when the US starts planting new crops. So there is a concept of a new crop and there is a concept of old crop. Okay, and this is really important to understand, guys, because when we are looking at agricultural products specifically, the old crop versus new crop could be a time that's where you will put your trade. When we are talking about the old crop is the time when most of the farmers they are using their previous stock, which is the leftover stock, to fulfill the supply in the market. Okay, now why it happens? There is a specific time period when a farmer will plant new seeds, and from that particular time till the harvest, the prices will fluctuate. There will be a time when there is no planting of new seeds. They still have to provide the supply, so they're using their old stock, which is your old crop, to meet the supply. Now, every grain commodity has one new crop, right? And they have old crop also. So what you have to understand is during the old crop time, or during the months when the farmers are supplying the old crops in the market, this time the supply is typically lower. Reason being, because there is still uncertainty whether the new crop will be planted or not. So what you are looking at right now, this price increase from May, if you can see, from May till June, before the US farmers start planting new seeds, the price of soybean tends to go higher. Why? Because there is still old crop in the market, but the supply is not as open as it should be, because a lot of farmers are holding on to the crop because there is still some uncertainty whether the new seeds will be planted or not. And it will depend on the weather condition as well, whether the new seeds are being planted or not. Once the planting of the new seeds happen, and you can see the prices over here between May and June, if you focus, is when the US plant new seeds and the price drops sharply, because once the planting of the new seeds happen, the supply comes in abundance. The old crop from the farmers, it comes out, because now they know that, okay, now it is sure that the seeds have been planted, so we have the new crop coming. So they start taking out their old crop and they start finishing it. So there is abundance of supply, and we see the price starts coming down from the US planting. And if you see the next stage, which is plant growth, while the plant is growing, we see again a dip in the prices. That's where the old crop is being supplied. And then comes the frost season. So normally when the times when winters are near, we might see again the prices going up. Eventually the prices fall when, at the end between October and November, when you see the harvest time. Now, when the crop harvesting happens, that's where the new crop comes in, right? So when the crop harvesting happens, this is where the supply again is in equilibrium, because now the old crop is over, but abundance of new supply coming from the new harvest, and that's where the price comes down. Now, this is how soybean works. Now, from November till February, again, there will be no new planting of seeds. This existing stock will be used. And again, after Feb, we will see when the price will start picking up, when the farmers, they will keep using their old stock before again the US plants new seeds during that particular crop year. Now, the idea is very simple. When we are talking about seasonality, and again, guys, this is not something which you listen over here and go ahead and take a trade. You are most welcome to come to my office and discuss about this, that how this is done, what is the historic price movement about this. I will share a couple of flyers with you uh, after I finish this slide, and then you can see that what kind of statistics we are relying on, and how seasonality patterns help you to at least determine that what could be where could be the price movement. So as we can see that after again when the planting happens, again during that entire seeds are being planted, then we see again the prices starts dropping. Now this is for soybean, and this happens, let's say what we understood is during August we see a maximum drop in prices of soybean. Let's say there are other crops. There are crops like corn. There are crops, for example, like wheat. Now, if we talk about corn, and when we talk about corn seasonality, let me share the flyer also with you, where we are talking about, since we're talking about the corn seasonality over here. Okay. Now we are talking about corn seasonality analysis. Okay. The idea is very simple. I will show you some statistics of the commodity, the corn prices, and I will show you these prices over last 5 years. Now, before you look into the flyer, I'll give you a bit of a brief about corn. See, in corn, the seasonality can be split into three periods. The first one starting is the late spring to the midsummer. Second one is covering the midsummer to the harvest time. Third one is the period after the crop has been harvested. Now, the most striking characteristic here is a trend for corn to see a decline of prices from midsummer going to the harvest period. So the till the time when the harvest period is, and from midsummer till it goes to the harvest period, till the crops get harvested, there is a decline on the prices. Now, before July for corn, what we have seen is before in the beginning of the July month, we have seen that the prices tend to be higher because the farmers they tend to hold on to the old crop until the new seeds have been planted, right? Even some years when the price decline starts earlier, it tends to continue after the mid of the July if the crop harvest forecast is good. Now, what happens is when the harvest happens, as I said, the current supply it increases, which puts a downward pressure on the prices, right? And the prices come down. So after the harvest till the February, you will see again the prices recovering back. And then again after February, when new crops are planted, we'll see prices coming down. Now, this is the cycle. Now, coming back to the corn seasonality, what we have seen is I will share with you the statistics here. See, the month of August. Now, let me show you first the chart, and then you see what I absolutely mean here. From 2015, can all of you see the numbers over here? Just send me a yes or no on the chat. Otherwise, I'll just zoom in my screen to show you a much better number. I think it's pretty smaller. Anybody who can see or not see, just send me a yes or no. Okay, so let me just zoom this a bit. Okay, I'm just zooming this a bit. Let me know if it changes. So I'll focus more on the August bit. I will take you through other numbers as well, but let's focus on the August bit here. Okay, I hope now you're able to see it's with, yeah, now it's visible. So, friends, what we are looking right now, let me show you. This is the performance of corn. Okay, this is the performance of corn since 2015. If you see from here, 2015 till 2020, and this is a month-on-month performance. So as you can see from the very beginning, January, Feb, March, April, May, and then this goes June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. So what we have observed in last 5 years, so we are taking a seasonality pattern of last 5 years over from 2015 till 2019. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 2020 is still pending. We have seen last 5 years, every August, the corn prices they fall. Okay, which means if you see in 2015, the return by the end of the month was 1.5% negative. Second, 7.95% negative. This was 2016. Then 2017, 7% negative. 2018, 5.5% negative. 2019, 9.8% negative. Right? Idea is that we are looking at August to 2020 now. So on the basis of the previous seasonality, now this is statistics. Now let's look at the fundamental bit. Now, as when we can see the numbers, and again, why we have picked August, because August is consistently red. If there is a month which is constantly green, I would look into it. But looking at the seasonality, when we are looking at August, it is constantly red. Now let's look at some fundamentals also. Let me reduce the size of this. I think font will be easily visible to everyone. Okay. Now, guys, let's understand what we saw in the statistics here. August has been negative for the commodity in all of the last 5 years. Corn has lost an average price of 6.38%. So what we have done is we saw the last 5% negatives, and we took an average that on an average in the month of August in last 5 years, corn has lost around 6.5% decline in the prices. Maximum loss, which we have seen, is 9.8%. I think this is in the month of 9.8%, which was last year, and lowest which we have seen is 1.5%, which is in 2015. Just note this, yeah. Now the lowest which we have seen is the minimum loss being 1.5%. Also, those investors who are thinking whether to do this or not, uh, this kind of analysis also kind of gives you a window that if the lowest loss we have seen is 1.5%, highest loss we have seen is 9.8%. So many of you must be thinking that if the returns are negative, then how can we take advantage of the falling prices? Now, this is done through a process of short selling, which we'll do it on the live platform and understand this. So now look at the fundamentals also. During the planting months, now you know what planting months are. Planting months means when the new seeds are being planted. During the planting months, spring for corn, source of grain that is available for sale or purchase is from the crops that were harvested during the previous harvest season, the old crop. In simpler words, what they are saying is before the planting starts, or even during the planting season when it is going on before the harvest, most of the stock which is used is the old crop. This is the stock which the farmers are using from the previous year remaining. On the other hand, during the harvest months, typically November and December, that's when the harvest month comes in for corn. The newly harvested crop comes to the market and supply is higher. So it is called the new crop because the harvesting is happened and now it is visible. So now you see that the prices in November, December are mostly high. The supply is higher. So when you see before the planting starts, before when the planting starts, the farmers are still using the old crop. Now, this old crop kind of pushes the prices low because the planting has still not been done yet. Now, with corn, the most pronounced seasonal trend is the tendency for prices to be near their highest level around early July because of the uncertainty around the new crop production. So, this is what I'm saying. In the early July, the prices of corn tend to be higher because we have seen the new crop production, the seeds have not been planted yet, and there is always an uncertainty till the US starts planting again. So we have seen that decline which happens from midsummer into the harvest season. Now, as a result, corn prices typically correct in the month of August. By December, most of the world's corn has been harvested, and majority of the next year's crop won't even be planted for another 3 to 4 months. Thus, prices begin to rise as investors starts to price in unknown surroundings next year's harvest. Now, see, if you see in the last after the harvesting happens and the price comes down, from November onwards, again, if I can share my presentation here, just 1 second. See this. After in October to November, when harvesting happens, price comes down. But after November, during December till Feb, we will again see a slowly rise in prices because after the new harvest, there will be no more planting of new seeds till again in July and August. So slowly and gradually, the stock starts getting used, and the market, the supply and demand gets balanced. So this is the idea when we are talking about the seasonality bit. Now, same thing which is happening over here in the case of corn also, that it will typically correct in the month of August. When I say correct, that means it drops in the month of August. By December, most of the world's corn has been harvested, and the majority of the next year's crop won't be planted for another 3 to 4 months. So that means the price begins to rise, and investors starts to price in unknown surroundings at what is going to happen the next year, right? This is something which we have seen again on month basis. As I see, if you see here in November and December, there have been months from 2015 to 2019, two times the prices have gone up, okay, three times prices have gone down. If you see December again, two of the months prices have gone up, three of the months prices have gone down. But if you see in January and in February, the amount of times the prices have gone up is higher. If you see the seasonality pattern here, Jan and Feb, most of the time you will see the prices going higher. If you see April, May, June, again the prices are mostly higher. Only in August you see before the planting starts, and when it actually starts, the prices starts correcting, and that's where you get the opportunity in this particular. Now, why we are showing you this flyer right now, because this is the month of August. So this is where we'll be talking about how to take advantage of the seasonality patterns in corn. Now, this is with corn. If I also please read this thing, this is more important than anything I'm discussing with you right now. Seasonal patterns, pricing tendencies described can be affected by other fundamentals such as weather and production issues in other grain importing or exporting countries, and past patterns may not always hold true in the future. So this is really important, which you should see. We will discuss about the corn and oat strategy also, where some new information will come across to you, that there has been a better supply of corn also, expectation of a better supply of corn this year. So you will see some other factors also which are related to the supply and weather. So whatever we are showing it to you, again, not necessary this is going to be 100% right. I think possibility that August may be green, but what we are showing you is the past seasonality pattern, and if it helps you to understand the trend of agro commodity, then that is basically the motive. Now, I hope this strategy is a bit clear to you. I do not expect all of you to understand this at the same time, but if you have any doubts, anything you want to know, you can write your doubts over here, or anyways, I'm available for a Zoom call one on one. You can come to my office, you can give me a day, and we can always discuss about these strategies, and most importantly, the risk part, which needs to be discussed. Now, coming to a second strategy. So, guys, what I'm going to do is first I will discuss these strategies, and then I will go to the live platform and tell you how to execute these transactions, how to do this trade, and then we'll just monitor for some time, and then we can end this session. Now, coming back to another strategy, same seasonality which we're looking at corn, there is another seasonality which is going on right now in coffee. Okay. Now, for coffee, let me start with here. Now, this is the coffee Robusta seasonality analysis. Okay. Now, coffee Robusta, again, we are talking about agro commodity. We're talking about coffee, and this is again, guys, coffee Robusta, coffee Arabica. There are two kinds of coffees. There is a slight difference between both, but coffee Robusta, it is responsible for 40% of the world's coffee production. Another 60% is coffee Arabica. So both the kinds of coffees are being used. So today we will be discussing about a seasonality analysis in coffee Robusta. Now, again, I will show you the numbers first, and this is even better. Rather than taking 5 years data, we are taking last 10 years of performance. Now, in last 10 years, let me show you the chart first. And of course, I have to zoom this. Okay, so before I zoom this, please just have a look through the chart so you can process from 2010 to 2020 till date. Let's talk about till date. What has been the performance of coffee in August? Okay, and once you have understood this, then I will zoom in and I will show you the numbers as well. Just take at least 20 seconds to just take a through entire 2010 to 20. Just look through the entire chart so you would know that where you have seen the maximum price increase and where you are seeing a maximum price decrease. Right. Now, let's talk about coffee. Again, as I said, see, seasonality patterns will not give you any kind of assurance or guarantee of a trade going right or investment going right, but it kind of gives you a peak in the historic performance of this agro commodity. So please assess your risk well before you invest into any of such strategies which is provided to you. Now we are talking about coffee. Now let's, once we have understood the numbers, let's go back and see. Now, as we can see from the image below, the month of August has been negative for this commodity 9 out of the last 10 years. I think somebody has a question. Okay. So, as we can see that from the last numbers, what we saw 9 out of time, last 10 years, the month of August has been negative for coffee Robusta. If you see an average price decline, uh, we have lost the coffee prices have lost around 2.6%, around 2.6% in the month of August. Now, maximum loss, if you see, it is around 9.3%, maximum gain being 11.5%. Now, let's see this. Okay. Now, if you see in the month of August, okay, somebody asked me, can we trade the new crop and the old crop spread in the agricultural commodity for intra asset classes? Uh, there are different future contracts which are available. So that is something which can be provided. So it's a really good question. So there are different future contracts in which these commodities are placed. So we can discuss about the future contracts later on, and there will be ways where you can trade between the spreads of the two commodities. However, the next strategy which I'm going to show you will be between two commodities, not the same contracts, because there was such opportunity where lean hawks and lean hawks future contracts were available, and that was, I think, last year February, and much was being contributed because of the recent demand of the pork, because there was a swine flu going on and China had to kill a lot of pigs in their country, and that is why the price of pork increased overnight. So there was a difference between both the future contracts. So yes, I mean there can be strategies where we can look into and understand if there is a difference between both the spreads, but I'll show you a similar strategy between the two commodities after this. Now, we are looking at coffee seasonality analysis. So as I said, the highest, like when the prices have shown positive strength was 11.5%. And where it has shown negative, it has been around 9.3, which has been the highest negative. On an average, coffee prices are negative by 2.5% in the month of August if we compare the last 10 years, right? Now, going back again to understand the 7 of the top 10 coffee consuming nations are in the Northern Hemisphere. Together, they alone account for more than 50% of global coffee consumption. Now, why this is important? Because, as they say, the geographic location of the world's top coffee consumers can have a heavy impact on the demand cycles. Coffee consumption peaks during cooler winter months and naturally dips during the warmer summer months for obvious reasons. Global coffee consumption typically dives by 12% or more during the warmer summer months. Now, in the northern hemisphere, that means June through September. For most of the Europe, Canada, and US, the warmest day occurs sometime between mid July and mid August. That's why we are looking here, this particular statistics between July and August. So if you see August completely, most of the time the prices of coffee have dropped, right? So the question is, if you have to take a trade, if you have to take advantage of the falling prices, can you take it? You can. I'll show you in the live platform how to take advantage of the falling prices through short selling. Another question: cocoa, coffee, and sugar are available in two different exchanges. So, is there any arbitrage opportunities? There can be. The question which has been asked, if there are any opportunities between the contracts which are traded into different multi platforms, can be used to do that. if there are opportunities, then there can be two or three platforms. One which is providing you, say, let's take example of sugar, for example. Sugar is a London sugar also. Sugar is a US sugar also. The pricing of London can be different. And if you're looking at the London exchange and if you're looking at the US exchange, if you want to trade between both, there can be different platforms providing different quotes. So that can be worked out once again. Now, this is about coffee. Next comes the strategy where we'll talk about a ratio trade. Okay. And before that, let's finish the agriculture commodities first, and then look forward to see gold also, because gold has been in the news, and we have come up with a BTST strategy, which is not exactly a seasonality analysis, but it does occur on specific occasions when we start using BTST. So I'll discuss about those special occasions as well. Okay. Now, last strategy in agro commodities, and as I said, we will do a live demonstration of these as well. Okay. Now we are talking about the last strategy, which is in agriculture. This is called the oat corn ratio. Now, the movement between oat and corn. First of all, understand the word oat corn ratio. Again, guys, anything which you're not able to understand, if you think you want to meet personally and discuss, we can do that also. Now, oat corn ratio is a spread strategy. And when I say spread strategy, that means the difference between the prices of oat, the difference between the prices of corn. And when we are looking at the difference, historically, we have seen that there is a difference which is maintained. And sometimes when one of the commodity goes higher while other commodity is still the same, and this gap goes up, there is an arbitrage opportunity where you can short sell one and you can buy another, so this gap can be closed. A practical application of this we'll do on the platform, and you will understand. Let's first go through what is going on between oat and corn, and what is right now the individual outlook for both the agriculture commodities. First thing, when we are looking at oat and corn ratio, the Department of Agriculture in US, they suggest that the oat crop yield, the crop yield is basically the productivity of the crop. So the productivity is expected to fall. Productivity, and you can say in layman words, the production of oat crops, it is expected to fall from 64.9 bushels per acre last year to 64.3 in 2019 and 20 crop year, while the production is. So guys, what is crop year? Crop year can be the period between planting the seeds till the harvest happens. And this can be a span of, not necessarily that it is always a span of 1 year. It depends the time period between when the sowing happened and when the harvest happened. So it depends on crop to crop. So this is called a crop year. So what we are looking at right now, that oat yields are expected to drop from 64.9 bushels per acre to 64.3 in 2019-20 crop year, while production also is likely to decline from 53 million bushels, from 56 million bushels to 53 million bushels. Now, oat ending stocks means the final finished stocks after the harvest, at the end of the crop year is estimated at 37 million bushels when compared to 38 million bushels last year. Now, simply it means oat supply is expected to reduce because of the decreased production. Now, when we come to corn, the ending stocks, the finished stocks of corn between the corn year 2019 and 20 are forecast marginally higher at 2.24 billion bushels when compared to 2.2 billion last year. Even though production is expected to decline, inventories are supported by comparatively better and bigger beginning stocks. So there is ample of supply which is coming ahead, and the corn supplies are supported. So the beginning stock of 2019 and 20 is estimated at 2.2 billion, in contrast with 2.14. in 2018 and 19. So as compared to the previous year, the supply of corn is still higher than the supply of oats. Now, when compared to corn, the prospects of oats looks better for the remainder of the year in terms of pricing. In terms of pricing, it is expected that the oat prices might go higher as compared to the corn. So the oat corn ratio has fell from 1.05 to 0.83, where it has a support, and from the ratio is likely to move up. Now, what I want you to do is, if there's a possibility and if you're around, I'm sure you guys will be having phones unless you're online from your phones. I want you to open a calculator and calculate the oat corn ratio by yourself so you will understand what does this mean. Let me first show you the chart and then you do this. Okay. Now here we are looking at the corn oats ratio. Now just let me also take you through the platform first. Okay. Now just do not get confused. Just look at the very first three order tickets which are open on the left, and you can see oats in the middle and corn in the last. And first is coffee. Now, when you're looking at the oat corn ratio, first ratio. Now, dividing the prices, which means you divide the price of oats 262 divided by the corn price 309, and tell me what is the answer. Divide the oat prices by the corn prices, so 262 divided by 309, and tell me what is the answer. Anyone you can write on the chat. So we are looking at oat corn ratio. So we need to calculate the ratio, and ratio is ratio of the prices. So the oats prices divided by the corn prices comes the oat corn ratio. Now tell me what is that ratio. Divide 262 by 309. So guys, since this is a webinar, I'm going to give you these kind of practices. Normally, I'm more habitual of a seminar and I like writing on the whiteboards and involving more people into it. And I'm glad that a lot of people are sending answers now. 0.84, 0.847, 0.84. So what you have done is you have took a ratio of the oat and the corn. You have divided their prices. Now, let me show you the historic price. Oh, sorry, just 1 second. Somebody asked me, oat corn ratio is exchange traded or needed to derive? You can always calculate the ratios accordingly. You can always calculate like we calculated right now. But yes, you will need a proper historic, analysis that how the ratios have gone in the past, because these are future contracts. So these kind of platforms just shows you the current price. To find out the history, you have to have access to Bloomberg terminals or other websites, research websites will give you a history of how the ratio has gone. But to find the current ratio, you just divide the prices and you will see what is the current pricing. Okay, now let me take you through to the flyer. This is oat corn ratio here. Okay, now the chart which you see, let me zoom in to give you a better visual. Yeah. So we are looking at a chart from 2019 till 2019, before 2019 August, and then this is to 2020 August. So let's take 1 year. Now, in 1 year, if you see 0.830, most of you have given the answer which was here 0.84, 0.84, 0.84. When we were making this strategy, I think this is just recent, 2 to 3 days ago. So if you see that time, the ratio calculated is 0.83. Okay. Now this 0.83 was 1.05, and this was back in between June and July, specifically May end and June beginning. the ratio was 1.05. The same ratio now has come down to 0.84. As you are calculating in the chart, it is 0.83. Now when we see the last 1 year and we see the historic pricing, we see that there is some kind of support at this particular ratio. And when I say support, what I normally mean to say is that it falls on this line of 0.80 and then bounces back, because this line is also acting as a resistance, which means from here you cannot. So in the past year it has been a difficult resistance to break and go up, and now when it has gone up, it will act as a support, difficult to break it and go down. So this one line can be the both support and resistance. For the below prices, it is a resistance, not able to break 0.80. And now once it has broken, again it has fallen this 0.80, it can bounce back. This is what a support and resistance means in technical terms. So the idea is very simple, that this ratio, which is 0.84 right now, can go back. Let's say if we are targeting a price of 1, okay, which means in all cases we are expecting the numerator to go up or the denominator to go down. Only that way the ratio will go higher, right? From 0.8, if we want the ratio to go to 1, we want the numerator to go higher or we want the denominator to go down, which means you buy the numerator and you short sell the denominator. So oats is what you buy and corn is what you sell to take advantage of this spread, because we are expecting this gap to go up. When I say gap, that means we are expecting this ratio, which is 0.8, to go to 1. So if that is the case, then you will need to buy this and you to sell this. So you buy oat, you sell corn. Either corn will come down or oat will go up. The idea is that the ratio might bounce back from this particular line. Now, what we also did to ensure that how this can be calculated, we took some historic data as well, went back to 2012. From 2012 to 2019, just to see the last 8 years return. If you sell corn and if you buy oats, how year on year it gives you a specific. I think there are few assumptions which are taken here. Okay. So now if you see in 2012, if you short sell corn and if you buy oats, so you lost in corn, but you made 10% in oats, so your net return is 5%. If you see in 2013, corn went up by 40%. Sorry, corn came down by 40%. So if you were short sell on corn, you could have made profit. And if you were buy on oats, oats went up by 1%, so your net return 41%. There are years like 2014 when your returns have been negative. There are years 2014 and 15 where your returns have been negative also. Okay, 19% negative, 8% negative. And then there have been years like 2019 where you made 2.7% return on the same strategy. And then 2020, year till date, July end. So January till July, what we have seen is January till July, if you short sell corn, you will make a profit of 17%. If you buy oats, you would make a loss of 1.3%. Net return is still 16%. So if you see since inception, again, since inception, we are talking about a way long, but what I'm trying to show you is that this kind of strategy where you sell one and buy another, looking at the ratio trade, this is called the spread trade, or this is called the ratio trade. Okay, this can also happen between the two commodities. Okay, somebody asked me a question. Trading is based on support resistance levels or any theoretical price analysis, like mostly used in Brent WTI spread. In simpler words, would that be a strategy? If ratio trade goes against, what would be the risk management or exit strategy? Very good question again. So guys, again, something which I also wanted to discuss further. First thing is, when we are looking at a ratio trade, most of the time, now we put fundamentals and technicals both. Fundamentals, what we understood was corn supply is more in abundance as compared to oats. Oats production has actually decreased. So fundamentally, more chances of oats prices rallying rather than the corn prices. So this is one fundamental. When we are talking about the ratio trades, the confirmation on support and resistance does gives a kind of a proper idea that trade is good to enter at. When we are talking about the fundamentals they do support us, but most of the ratio trades. So you're talking if you're giving example of Brent and WTI spread strategies. So Brent and WTI strategies are also based on the spread, and most of the time, like if you see 2018, 2019, 2020, highest spread between Brent and WTI between 2018 and 2019 was $12, and the lowest it went down between 2016 and 2019 was 0.75. On an average, between 2018 to 2019, a resistance was built around $11 spread and a support was built around 8. And if you could see the chart there, if I have this on my laptop, I would show you the strategy before we finish this. 11 would be the point of resistance where the spread would reach, and then again spread would start coming down to 8 before that support line was broken. So a lot of times the spread trades and the ratio trades of Brent WTI does move on resistance and support spread strategies also. Yes, fundamentals, we can always look into the fundamentals if their fundamentals are supporting. Like during that time, if trade war is going on and US has to put or US oil has been put into are being imposed into new tariffs, then US will have to find new markets to sell the oil, and they have to reduce down the prices. So you want WTI, you are expecting WTI to go down, and Brent is still here. So you will expect the spread to go higher. So like this fundamentals, we can always do a research for you and try to find out the fundamentals and technicals, both the perspectives. Somewhere like in the corn and oat ratio, we can always back test these strategies also, right? Now, guys, one last strategy before we practically put this into the platform is your gold BTST. Now, this has nothing to do with seasons, but BTST is something which is much more again statistics based. Just see it; it has a very interesting concept because it is timing based. So you can try all these things in your demo accounts as well. So somebody said my audio is not working. Can anybody else who is not able to hear me? If you cannot hear me properly, please put a yes or no, although that would be difficult. Let me just try to restart the connection. Anyone who is able to hear me now, please send a yes or no, that would be helpful. Hello. Okay. Okay. Great. So, if for those who are not able to hear me, uh, please don't worry about this. First of all, I'm available for a quick chat, and then we can also this webinar will be uploaded on YouTube, so you can always look at that, and you can talk to your RMs also for further explanations. So very quickly now, before we move on, we'll discuss this gold BTSC strategy. This is something which is really uh, interesting, and this is time based. So for those investors who are mostly who do not have time to trade into commodities but are looking for time based trades, just see this strategy and see if this works out for you. Here, a gold strategy which is BTST, buy today and sell tomorrow. Now, please understand whatever strategies I have mentioned on this session. Please, all of these strategies have been prepared through backtesting of historical data. Uh, Times are always different. Things, the situations keep changing. We are living in a world where a pandemic has hit. Donald Trump is the president. trade wars are happening, Brexits have happened. So obviously there is a lot of volatility which is going on. So please assess your risk first and then use any of these strategies. None of these strategies give you any kind of assurance or guarantees. This is just a representation of the historical price. So just look at this and see how it works in your portfolio. Now, gold BTST is a momentum based strategy. It is based on a very simple concept that when you see a commodity gaining a momentum, you ride on that particular momentum. Okay. And in the case of gold, we are talking about a rally, or we are talking about a momentum which has occurred for 5 consecutive weeks. So, what we did, we started doing research, and BTST was something which we did last year also in 2019, and BTST was something which we also introduced in 2018 also. So every time when the gold rallies continuously for 5 weeks, the next 3 months after that, if you do a BTST, BTST means if you buy today and sell tomorrow, for the next 3 months, the anticipated returns can be higher than just buying and holding it for the next 3 months post this 5 weeks rally. Again, let me tell you this. Let me read out from the flyers so we can see it word by word. Gold has rallied for more than 5 consecutive weeks, which means Monday to Friday, if you see 1 week, then week one, week two, week three, week four, week five. So a month. Every week, if the closing is higher than the previous week, that means the week will be in green. So, like this, 5 consecutive weeks, we have seen gold closing on a positive note. This has happened 14 other times in the past 12 years, beginning from 2008. Now, this is what I wanted to show you. However, backtested data of past 12 years reveal that post a 5 consecutive weeks rally in gold, which means after the 5 weeks of rally happens, if you do a BTST strategy, that means if you start buying gold at 11 p.m. UAE time and close this trade next day morning at 7 a.m., and you do this for 3 months every day, has led to a total return of 51% historically, which is an average return of 4.2%. Now, this is for the next 3 months after the 5 week of rally happens. Now, what I'm showing you guys, this is again, this is the data which is from Bloomberg. So if you see this, okay, let me zoom this here. See, now this is when, at what dates the gold has rallied for 5 consecutive weeks. 13 September 2009. Just consider this way, that on 13 September 2009 was the time which was the 5th week, after which the next 3 months, if you did BTST, you would gain 10% returns after the rally, even after the rally. And we will see this on charts also. Next, 29th August 2010, 10th October 2010, August, September, October, 3 months of period, 8.8% return. Oh, 1 second. Somebody said video has stopped. Let me start my video again, please. Sorry. Can everyone see me right now? Moving? A yes or no will be really helpful, guys. Let me try this once again. Okay. Okay, can you see me moving now? Okay, you can. Thank you. Now I'm sharing the flyer once again. Okay. Now, just to give you an idea, we talked about the BTST here. Okay, now I'm showing you the numbers, that how many times when the 5 weeks of rally has happened. 5 weeks rally means when for 5 consecutive weeks gold has gone up. What has happened after that rally for the next 3 months? If you buy today at 11 p.m. UAE time and sell at 7 a.m. in the morning, you keep doing this for 3 months, and BTST has given positive results in 2009, 2010, 2011, and whenever this 5 weeks of rally since 2008 has happened, except in 2014, where we saw a negative 2%. 2011, as you can see, there have been a positive returns of 18%. In 2014, there have been a positive result of 0.13%. Now, in January 2020, also, when 5 weeks of rally happened, the next 3 months after that, we saw a 1% return if you did BTST. Now, total return, if you add since 2008, it is 50% on investment. But on an average, in those 3 months, 4.2% on an average is generated if there is a 5 weeks of rally, okay? And for the next 3 months, if you do a BTST, you don't buy and hold. If you do a buy today and sell tomorrow, every day, okay? Now, the fundamentals behind this is very simple. As you can see on the text, the strategy has worked well for gold, especially after 5 weeks of rally when the momentum is high. Data reveals that major spike generally comes in the morning between 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. This is when the Japanese and the Hong Kong market open, leading to a bullish price action during the time period. Now, table on the right exhibits the 3-month performance of gold BTST strategy post a 5 weeks rally. Please, as I said, risk management is really important. So you need to put a 1% stop loss and a 2% take profit. The hit ratio when the trade resulting profits in 11 out of the past 12 instances. Now, forget about the hit ratios also. Let's understand one thing, that whatever trades you are taking, you have to put at least a stop loss and a take profit. The risk reward ratio is 1:2. So if you are taking in 3 months, even 50 trades, and your loss is say $50 on one trade, so your profit expectation should be 100. So you're talking about a 2:1 risk reward ratio. Guys, why we are sharing this strategy right now? Again, now let me take you to the platform finally, where we will apply these strategies quickly and understand how this is done. See guys, now I will open gold chart over here. Okay. Now look at this. I'm changing this 1 day to 1 week to show you every candle will represent 1 week after this. Okay. Now let's jump into what has happened here. Now we are looking from 5th July till August. Week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. Now normally when this happens, this is where we have come up with the BTST flyer. Now you will have a very obvious question that week 6 looks red. That means after week 5 of rally, the week 6 has started coming down. The thing is, you're not holding this trade for 1 week. This candle represents entire 1 week. The red candle represents entire 1 week. I'm talking about every day. And if I'm talking about every day, day on day, gold is giving a movement of not less than $30 to $40. Considering yesterday we saw $120 movement. Yesterday gold was, today morning itself, it was 1880. And then while in a 1 hour's gap, we saw it 1940, 1950. And if you see gold prices right now, see, this is 1945. Today's low, if you can see here, I'll open a quote panel for you. See the lowest, 1862, highest 1949, right? Gold is giving you a volatile movement. So the idea is very simple. Rather than buying and holding for 3 months, if you do a BTST, 11 p.m. markets are less moving. So if you buy at 11 p.m. and keep it till 7 a.m. in the morning, the concept is very simple, that during Japanese market opens and the Chinese market opens, there's a lot of movement in the market and mostly the gold prices get pulled up. And throughout the day after that, it gets settled. So when that gets settled, then if you're holding the trade, then you might come back to the same situation. So that's why you buy at a price around 11 p.m. and you exit at 7 a.m. in the morning. That's why it is called BTST. And BTST it is not a concept which I have made. BTST is a very, very renowned concept. Those who have invested into Indian markets, these are some strategies which are actively used for Nifty indices also. BTST is used in Nifty as well for a very long period of time. We also did use in Nifty the BTST, and you will be surprised to see that the returns in a BTST strategy sometimes on occasions are higher than the buy and hold. Okay, so that is again something which you might have to look for. Now again, now let's try to apply these strategies. First, we'll understand the seasonality bit, right? So this is an account which, let's say it has $200,000 over here as equity. So if I have to take a trade, we were discussing about first coffee. Now what does coffee says? Coffee in the month of August, we have seen that out of 10 times, 9 times it is red, so it is expected to go down. So what you can do is, from a process of short selling, by using a process of short sell, you can actually take a position in coffee where if prices go down, it is in your advantage. How short selling works, I will explain you very quickly, and just imagine doing this transaction. Uh, Short selling means when prices fall, you make money. Okay, how this is done? Let's say right now, when you're looking at the prices of coffee, uh, you are expecting from 1393, the price of coffee will fall down to 1300. Okay, just a hypothetical expectation. Now, if you want to take advantage of the falling prices, what do? You come to me and you say that, Yogesh, uh, in this case, for example, yeah, you come to me and say that I want to borrow, say, a bag of coffee from you. So you come to me and you borrow a bag of coffee. Now I give you a bag of coffee. You take that bag of coffee which you borrowed from me, you did not pay for it, you just borrowed from me, and you go and you sell in the market. Now the price of the bag of coffee is 1393 or 1388. The selling price which you see, it is 1388, right? Now when you sell that bag of coffee which you borrowed from me in the market, you get $1388. Now you get that money, you come home, you sit on it. After 10 days, let's say the price falls down to 1300. Now what do? You go back to the same market and you take that $1388 which you received, okay, and you buy the coffee for 1300 because that is the current market price right now. The price fell. So from 1388, you paid 1300, 88 is your profit. You got back the coffee which you borrowed from me. You come back to me and you give me back the coffee. Now in this platform, your broker becomes the the person whom you are borrowing the coffee from, and you can just select the sell prices over here, okay, and write the amount. Let's say you want to short sell $20,000 worth of coffee. You select here 20,000. Units are automatically calculated. Place a sell order. You have 200,000, so you sell 20 out of 200,000. You are selling 20,000 worth coffee. How you are selling it without even having, you're borrowing it from your broker and you are selling it in the market. Now when this transaction will complete, if the price comes down, you buy it back at a cheaper price, the difference you keep, and the coffee automatically comes back to your broker. So the inventory comes back to your broker whom you have borrowed, and you are selling it on a specific price. When price goes down, you buy it back at a cheaper price, keep the difference of the prices, and give back the commodity. Again, guys, as I said, when we'll have a platform training session, if you want a one-on-one session, I can always sit with you and I can explain you how this is done. Now, so this is how you take advantage of the falling prices. Only in online markets you can do it, or in the futures market you can do it. Somebody asked me about BTST, how to manage the risk of the gap opening. Again, very good example that sometimes what happens, markets open at a gap. Okay, although in situations like India 50, in situations like German index, Hong Kong index, uh, there are a lot of gap openings and gap closings. Okay, now to beat the gap, most of the platforms do not have enough options. But over here, what you can do is, it's a premium service, but you can see in case of gold, the gap openings are less, but there always can be a gap opening. So to make sure during the times when volatility is at its peak, what you can do is, even when you're doing a BTST, you can put something called a guaranteed stop loss, which means, let's take an example. I'm using gold over here. This is your gold cash. This is your window. This is 1945. So this is your order ticket. Let's say I am buying gold worth $20,000 here. So this is my buying price. Technically, I should be buying at 11 p.m., but we are taking an example now. So let's say I click here on buy. Before I click on buy, I put a stop loss. Now my stop loss is supposed to be 1%, which is as per the strategy. Now it's up to you how much risk you want to take. So I'm looking at $200 loss. If my value of trade is 20,000, 1% will be 200. So I put a stop loss. I select this to a guaranteed stop loss. Now, when I select it as a guaranteed stop loss, I put the amount $200. So this is my guaranteed stop loss, which charges me a cost, a premium, which is $3 as per 10 ounces. And this premium can fluctuate as per the volatility. And then I place the order. Now what is happening? Even if the market opens on a gap, if you have put a guaranteed stop loss, your loss is $200 because you have kind of paid a premium for it. Okay. This is a guaranteed stop loss. This is not with every platform provider. So I'm so glad that somebody asked this question about how to manage BTST when there's a gap up opening. First thing what you need to do is, in case of gold, yes, these are volatile times. So if you want to put a guaranteed stop loss, you can. Otherwise, just keep your quantities low. That in case if there is a gap up opening, then you can cope up with it. But if your quantities are high, then this is the right way to put a guaranteed stop loss. So if the market opens at a gap, you're able to cope up with that loss, right? Now, coming back, we did one strategy. We short sell coffee here. If you want to see your trades, you can go to your positions and you can see here. I have bought gold here. I have short sell coffee over here. Now, coming back, another strategy which was on corn. Now, we talked about corn. We talked about how in August corn prices have been negative in last 5 years. Same thing what you did with coffee, you can do with corn as well. So you select over here, selling, put say $20,000 worth corn and place a sell order. Again, you sold it. For those who are thinking, how did I sell something which I did not have it? Again, I'm repeating, you are borrowing it from your broker and you are selling it in the market. If you're selling it, let's say at a price of, let me open. Oh, sorry, I did with oats. I was supposed to do with corn. Sorry. Let me change this trade to, the last window is the corn. This is oats. So let me just rectify this. This is a demo account. Yeah, sorry, I did this with oats. Let me close this. Okay, yeah, this is corn. So I select sell, $20,000. So when I'm writing, I'm selecting sell, I'm borrowing this from my broker and I'm selling it at 312. Tomorrow price comes down to 310. I buy it back for 310, $2 difference. I keep it and I give back corn from where I borrowed, which is my broker. I'm selling corn here, sold it, and now this is. So when I go to my account options, I can see now I have orange means sell. So I have sold corn as well. Now if price comes down, I will get an advantage and I'll be in profit for that, right? Now I will take, so similarly, if you have to take a oat corn ratio trade, oat corn ratio trade also allows to buy oat and sell corn. Okay, so without taking another trade extra, since I have short sell $20,000 worth of corn, all I have to do is buy $20,000 worth of oat. This is my spread trade, which is complete now. So the strategies which we discussed, you short sell coffee, $20,000 worth I did. You short sell corn and buy oats, which is a corn oat ratio. So the idea is either oats will go higher, okay, and if corn also follows, the idea is that the profit in the oats buying will be higher than the loss in the corn short selling. Okay, this is how the spread trade works. I have taken a gold trade also. If you are buying at 11 p.m., please do not forget to sell it tomorrow at 7 a.m. How a BTST strategy will work, right? And please, every BTST strategy has been backtested with the specific timings of those numbers. So that is how we have derived onto those returns and conclusion. Needless to say, there will always be situations, there always will be times where these strategies may not work in the way we expected, and that's why you need to put stop losses as well. Even for your corn and oats ratio strategy, you can always try to keep a stop loss and calculate your loss, how much loss you're ready to take. What happens is with the market consultants over here, through standard deviation, we can give you one idea. Like for example, how we saw that if support is at point 0.8, then this is a good point to enter. Okay, if this support gets broken, probably that's where you book your loss. So we can calculate through standard deviation, do a much more enhanced analysis for the ratios and see where the another support is, where you can enter. So like this, it will be done in crude oils also. Somebody asked me about crude oil. I'll see if I have very quickly that Brent and WTI spread. So you will be able to see the. I think I have this. This is on. Yeah, I just found it. So I'll quickly share this with you. This is the last thing which we'll be talking about here. See this. Now, this is the answer to the question that normally what we see is, and this was done, guys, long ago. This was, I think we are talking about, okay, this is 12th March 2020. Now, during that time, as you can see, the ratio with the red line is marked, which is showing you a spread difference between 2.4 between Brent and WTI, two kinds of oil. One is UK oil, one is US oil. And this highest in 2018 to 2020 has been around 11.4. This is the resistance. And if you see from those peaks, it repeatedly came down to 8. If you see, there will be, if you want to draw a line, you could draw a line easily around $8, because from there it keeps coming down from 2018 to 2020. From 2018 to a period of 2019, 11.48 was a resistance, 8 was a support. And once that support was broken, it came all the way down to 2.5, which also became the support in 2020. And from there, again, the spreads, they bounced back. So a lot of times the ratio trades are done on the basis of support and resistance. Yes, fundamentals can always define the course of it, and that's the risk. So you have to see the historically that from where the spreads have come down and bounced back, right? So this is again, this was not the part of this, but I just thought that we'll share this since it's a very good question about whether to rely on the support and resistances or not. A lot of people have worked on a Brent WTI and have shown positive results, but every time again, spreads, arbitrage, this also is subjected to a lot of risk. As I said, what happened between pork, many a times the spread were in favor, but then what happened, the prices all of a sudden started balancing, started coming down. So that gap was not there. So again, with the help of the experts, the entry exits can be defined. I would suggest you to please assess your risk well. For now, do not, you don't have to just take a trade because you saw this webinar. Please take your time, take demo accounts from your respective relationship managers, and they will be able to provide you uh, a proper guidance on how to do these strategies. Do it in demo accounts to see. However, seasonality patterns are only specific to the month of August because you saw the numbers. Okay. But again, as I said, use demo accounts to understand this. Do BTSTs in your demo accounts at least for 3 to 4 days after this. Buy gold at 11 p.m., keep a stop loss, and sell at 7 a.m. Of course, if you get up in the morning at 7 a.m., then this is for you. If you're not a morning person, then this is definitely not for you. But try getting up at 7 a.m. and doing this. Do it for 3 4 days and see how this works out. Yes, this session will be posted on YouTube. And yes, I'm available for a one-to-one session as well. Just talk to your RMs and describe a time, and we can have a Zoom call. Or if you want to come to the office, we are completely protected with the mask and everything. I'm in an enclosed cabin right now, so I'm not wearing any of those. But in our offices, there are proper steps and precautions being taken. So don't worry about it. If you want to come to the office, most welcome. Otherwise, talk to your RMs, use demo accounts, have one-on-one meetings with me on Zoom call, and we will again discuss how this is just one strategy related to seasonality. There are a lot of pair trades going on. There are a lot of other strategies also which are going on, and depending on what kind of risk you're willing to take, should define your strategy. So if you're not a commodity person, you are more of a stocks person, please do that. We can create suggest you portfolios regarding that. So it's a one-stop solution. Thank you so much once again for coming to this webinar. Most of you have been very patient. It's been stretched to 1.5 hours, and I hope that something valuable you got here, at least some experience in understanding how seasonality works for commodities. We will meet again after a few days, and we'll talk about market neutral strategies, more pair trading strategies like what we did with corn and oats. We will talk about Dow and S&Ps. We'll talk about S&P and Nasdaq. We'll talk about few stocks. We'll talk about oil spreads, and we'll talk about a lot of strategies which we have been working on currently. So once again, thank you so much on behalf of Century Financial and my team. We wish you a very safe time period. Please wear your mask, try to stay at home as much as you can. And our big vote of thanks to anyone who is associated with the healthcare and the pharmaceutical sector, or our doctors, midwives, and nurses. Thank you so much for risking out your life every day. And I hope all of you remain in good health. Be safe and protect yourself and protect your investments as well. Always keep invested. Please let me know if you have any other doubts after this. Thank you so much. The copy of this session will be uploaded on YouTube really soon. So you will be able to watch this on YouTube as well. And if you have any questions after that, I'll be available. Your RMs will also be available. Thank you and have a good night.